لا يزال الخير حيا لا يزال إن في الدنيا سلاما وظلال.
Yeah, when you read a book, the first thing you read should be the first thing you remember. In psychology, they call it primacy effect and recency effect. The first thing you read should stick in your memory. The first thing he talks about in an interesting way is hate. He talks about hating people. This is what would then become Prime Minister of Israel in the 80s. He talks about hating people. And what does he talk about? How hate is a beautiful thing in some instances. And why is he talking about hate? Because he wants his Zionist followers to hate the Palestinian minorities so that they can be more motivated to go into the villages, which we now know we have documents of. He had, and other gang members, I call them gang members, had village files to go into their villages and attack all these people. In his 4th and 5th and 6th pages, he talks about going into the villages and attacking the civilians, very crudely, talking about actually his eyewitness testimonies. What happened in the villages? How many villages were there that were uprooted and overturned? 400 to 600 villages were completely demolished on the face of the earth. The urban character of Palestine was uprooted and completely changed because of this whole plan that was happening throughout the 30s and 40s. What you're talking about, sir, is basically Nazi policies in action in Palestine. But whereas you keep talking about it, oh, my family have this and this and that, and you're laughing about this, you don't want to acknowledge it for the Palestinians. That's why I believe you're a racial supremacist in the same way that I believe you are.
What have I ever said about Palestinians?
You've never once said there's been any kind of ethnic cleansing. You've never once acknowledged that the blockade is against human rights. You've never
I said there was ethnic cleansing against the Jews.
You've never once spoken about the settlements being against international law and actually a breach of human rights of those individuals. You've never once talked about You've never once said that the Israeli Defense Forces have completely taken the rights to dehumanize human beings that are Palestinians, killed some of those. You've never once, even Amnesty has a whole, go on Amnesty.com, yeah? Go on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, you'll see they have a whole report on this thing. Yeah. They talk about how many people have been, brutalized and tortured by the IDF and the Israeli government. Why do you not want to actually acknowledge this? These are not Muslim groups. All of these groups are coming to the same conclusion, but you, my friend, are putting your hands in your pockets, pretending no one is being killed except for Jews. And you keep saying you're laughing and you're dying and this and that.
When have I said it? Mate, you're literally arguing with yourself.
No,
when have I said any of these things?
You don't want to acknowledge. Do you acknowledge the fact that the Israeli Defense Forces have been the actors and the reason for a lot of the torture that has taken place with the Palestinian communities? Do you accept that or not?
So your definitions,
yes or no?
No.
Okay, no. So that's what I'm talking about. You don't mind if the Israeli defense, you have a complete bias, a psychological.
Mohammed, are you going to let me talk?
You're steeped in bias.
Are you going to let me talk?
You're steeped in bias.
You literally spoken for 15 minutes solid.
No, I haven't. No, man. We can quickly look at that. Go ahead and say something.
Okay. So to respond to each one of your points, first and foremost, settlements. First and foremost, settlements, yeah? You've never been able to tell me where Palestine begins and ends as a nation. So for all I know, your settlement for you is Tel Aviv.
Where does Israel begin and end?
Can I ask a question?
Hold on. Sorry. Where does Israel begin and end? Where does Israel begin and end?
Okay, so again, I asked you a question and then in typical style, you flipped it back to me.
Okay,
I will give you my definitions, but I want to know for you, where does Israel begin and end?
If you're asking me?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's what I'm asking you. You're the Israeli Israeli.
How can you talk about settlements when you don't know where the settlement is?
Hold on. You're saying where does Palestine? In my opinion,
you've taken Palestinian land in Gilo. You've thrown
mate, seriously.
Answer that question.
We're trying to talk, and if everyone jumps in, we don't get it. So literally, you mentioned settlements, not me.
I believe the whole of Israel is a settlement.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you. We finally got to the truth.
It's a settlement.
So for you, it doesn't matter whether it's Tel Aviv, or it's Gilo, or it's Hebron, or it's Eilat. It's all. I'll
what do you mean?
For you, it's all settlements.
So what about Gilo?
No, but specifically here, when we talk about post-1967, there are specific international law-defined settlements. Now, I'm saying,
okay, those international law-defined settlements, so we understand definition.
West Bank, in the West Bank,
before Bethlehem, I've seen it with my own eyes. I was married to a Palestinian. They pointed out the damn land in front of my eyes. They said, see those cranes over there? We can't go, we'll get shot if we come any further. Outside Gilo. Answer Gilo, that's on the outskirts of Bethlehem.
So I'll happily answer. But you then answer, but then you let us.
And then you have the Gaza Strip, which obviously they've come out good. So that's it.
So again, to understand the...
were you pro or against the movement out of Gaza Strip, just for my...
The disengagement from Gaza, I was pro the disengagement.
Oh, you were happy with that?
Yeah.
So why are you happy with the same thing with West
You've never, Mohammed, the difficulty is you've never actually asked me what
I'm asking you, are you happy with that?
You've just told me what I believe.
Okay, so tell me now, why do you not want to condemn the illegal, from an international relations perspective, illegal settlement
Mohammed, just
of a community of people?
Can you answer my question?
Go ahead, go ahead.
What other borders you're talking about when you're talking about an illegal settlement? That's all I want to know.
According to the UN, we're talking about the settlements in the West Bank.
So what are the borders of the West Bank and Jerusalem?
What, do you want me to go into details with actual provinces? No, man, you get a map out and do that work yourself. Get a map and do it. You talk about like exactly where it starts and where it ends.
Because it's really, if you say that you're building... What are you talking about? Mohammed, listen, I'll explain why. If you accuse me of building in your garden, you have to be able to tell me where your garden begins and ends.
Okay, so alright, so I believe the whole of Palestine was a garden which was built upon.
Okay, so for you it's all in illegal
after 1967.
So why are you worrying yourself with the United Nations?
No, because I'm saying that there has to be some kind of...
disingenuous.
No, I'm not disingenuous. Okay, look, I'm telling you now. I'm telling you now that there has to be some kind of mutual ground. I'm saying, forget about my beliefs and your beliefs. According to even international organs, like the United Nations, you don't want to accept any authority
so
except
I'm asking you, what borders are the United Nations talking about?
The post-1967 ones.
The pre-1967 borders.
The 1948 ones.
Yeah, the 1949 armistice agreement with Jordan.
Yeah, okay. So we're talking about the West Bank. You keep asking the same question. West Bank, them parts of Jerusalem, and obviously the Gaza Strip before 2005.
And what were they?
I just said it now, man.
No, but what were they?
You keep asking the same questions,
They were a temporary peace treaty between Jordan and Israel, yeah?
Who said that?
The Jordanians when they signed it, and the Israelis when they signed it. Okay, anybody can Google the 1949 armistice line and see that both the... No, you're not interrupting. See that both the Jordanians and the Israelis agreed that this was a temporary ceasefire line. If you actually visited there, you can see the bullet holes in the wall from where the Jordanians and the Israelis were shooting at each other
that's the case,
in the old city.
So you don't believe that what you can win from war, as you've put it in the previous debate, is that which you can live on, yeah? So in that case, you should leave the whole of Israel.
What?
Because the 1948 war won you the most land. So if you're talking about what war gets...
What are you talking about? I've never said anything like that.
You said this before, yeah?
No,
you have said this before.
I said you can trade land for peace, which has been a policy of Israel. They gave Sinai to the Egyptians.
It's not your land. It's not your land, my friend.
Why is it for you?
It's not your land.
Why for people like you
country.
will you not tolerate a Jewish country?
My friend, listen. He keeps saying Sinai is his country. When was Sinai the property of Jewish people?
They built settlements there for 10 years.
Listen, when was... I'm asking you a simple question.
In the 70s, there were settlements. There were Jewish...
Listen to me. Before the 70s, before the 1973 war, and before the 1966 war, I'm asking a simple question. When was Sinai the property of Jewish people?
It wasn't before.
There you have it. So how can you say you're giving back land that you never owned?
Because they were invaded.
So who was invaded?
Israel was invaded. They repelled and they...
So they captured the land?
Yes.
And so you're saying that you could do that in war?
That's how every single nation
Not in the modern world, my friend. Not in the modern world.
What are you
Not in the 20th and 21st century, my friend. Not maybe the 20th. Maybe not. Definitely not in the 21st. That is not what the United Nations was built for.
Which states have been born?
You're not playing by the rules.
Name some of the states that have been born in the 21st century or the 20th century.
Kosovo.
There was a massive conflict in Kosovo. It was
So you just asked me to name a state. I've done.
No, but So I'm telling you, conflict. This is how. And I'm not for expansionism. I'm not for expansionism. I'm for giving back land.
But you're saying give back land. It's not your land if you're not for expansionism.
If you lose
you're
a
all
war,
over the place. You're contradicting yourself.
If you launch a war and lose, you're an idiot.
How do you give something?
Listen to that last. Listen to that last. Thank you. Listen to that last statement. Yeah. Perfect. Hold on. What he just said there. Let's refute him. He said if you lose a war and lose land, you're
if you launch a war and then you lose.
Okay, fine.
One second, brother. Maybe Islam is.
Law of the jungle.
No
problem.
Can we just let us debate because it gets so hard when everyone else jumps in.
Just listen. Maybe Islam losing a war, but they win it, in token dialogue. Always.
Maybe Islam loses a war.
In a war, yeah.
So basically, he believes so the colonial settlement that is Israel.
Israel is not a colonial settlement.
Yes, it is.
This is the problem. You want to talk about colonialism? How did Arabs?
We're not talking about the medieval period.
No. We're talking
about the present day.
You dictate the terms of the debate.
Because we're not talking about medieval politics. That's a different structure.
Why do you think Iran is involving itself in Syria, Lebanon,
I don't care about Iran.
Yemen?
You can go and speak to Iranian diplomat.
Why do you think Saudi Arabia is involving itself?
I don't care about going and speak to a Saudi Arabian diplomat. I'm not here to defend those individuals. What now?
I'm talking about Islam.
What? Seriously, what? I'm not here to defend
You
Egypt.
talk about colonialism.
Saudi.
Who are the Jews colonizing?
Palestinians.
No, they're not. They're not enforcing Hebrew on the Palestinians.
Oh,
They're not forcing.
So there's not talk of a Jewish state?
There's freedom of religion in Israel.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
No, 400 mosques.
So is there freedom of speech and expression in Israel?
Absolutely.
Oh, is that why? Is that why everyone, almost all the historians and academics that speak against Israel,
Name one.
are not Norman Finkelstein?
What does Norman Finkelstein say? What does he say about freedom of religion? What does he say about Israel? What does he say? It's got nothing to do with religion.
It's done, my friend. You said name one. It's done.
You
said if you can't,
if you can't hold a logical thought, that's not my fault.
He said name one.
You said there's religious. We're talking religious freedom. Norman Finkelstein and Ilan Pappé are both.
You said freedom of expression. That's what I said. I said freedom of expression. What are you saying now? Seriously, what are you saying now?
Okay, I misheard. I thought.
So is there freedom of expression in Israel in the same way as there is, for example, in the UK?
Yeah.
So if that's the case, if I were to attack,
was Lauren Southern banned from the UK? Did you laugh at that?
I don't even know about that.
No. Maybe it was Ali Dawah. Maybe it was Ali Dawah.
What I laugh about is my own freedom of expression, my friend.
But no, seriously, did the UK ban Lauren Southern?
You only want
Did the UK ban Lauren Southern? So is that freedom of expression? Of course there is. We're having this conversation.
She was not, hold on, first and foremost, she was not a citizen of the United Kingdom.
Neither is Norman Finkelstein.
Yes, he is, my friend. Ilan Pappé is a citizen of Israel.
I said Norman Finkelstein.
Ilan Pappé is a citizen of Israel. He was born in Israel, and he's a citizen of Israel. He's banned from it.
He renounced his citizenship.
No, he wasn't. He was banned from it.
No, he renounced.
So that's what you want everyone to believe, isn't it? Go on. Imagine now I attack the the British government, and they don't allow me back into the UK. I not attack them physically, obviously. I'm talking criticism.
People can go with this.
So here's what I'm saying. You only want freedom of expression so long as it serves your cause. When freedom of expression is academically put to you that attacks Zionism, exposes it.
Muhammed.
It's not freedom of expression anymore.
Do you know?
Do you support that, by the way?
Do I support Israel? Personally,
Ilan Pappé.
Personally, no.
You don't. So they're wrong. Yes or no? They're wrong.
By my definition, yes.
Yeah. So Israel's wrong.
So by my definition, I believe there should be complete freedom of speech.
Oh, okay, good.
And I don't.
The first, how difficult that was. Difficult to criticise your own government's policies. It's
not my own government. I'm British.
No, but you're part of the Israeli advocacy movement, so you are representing the Israeli government.
I'm not representing the Israeli.
So what are you representing?
I'm representing myself and the Israel advocacy movement.
So what is the advocacy movement? What does it do? Go on, tell me what it does.
It promotes Israel in the UK.
So okay, I'm now telling you that it's good that you actually not done that and you've criticised Israel. Now you're funders.
No. My funders. What are you talking about?
Now you're funders. Not gonna lie.
Who are my funders?
I don't know. You tell me.
This isn't typical like nonsense we get.
You have a donate thing.
I've had a donate button, which has had a total.
So you have funders, my friend. If you have donate, you have funders. That's how it works.
A total of £30 has flown into the organisation.
Yeah?
I spent thousands of pounds on it.
You had £30 come in.
And I spent thousands.
Okay, let's make that transparent, my friend. Let's make that transparent.
What do you mean,
you're part of a movement. Okay, if you're saying £30 has come in, I would like to see the money for that. I want to see the transparency in
what does that have to do with you?
No, because it's an organisation. You're claiming that only £30 has come in.
What does it have to do with you?
It's part of pluralism and democracy.
What are you talking about,
transparency, yes.
What on earth are you talking about?
Transparency of organisations that claim to do certain things, like charities, for example.
It's not a charity.
No, but I'm saying like.
It's a YouTube channel. What are you talking
about? Is that
all
it is?
Yes.
Oh, okay, right. yeah, but £30, only £30 flown in.
You're a lunatic. Do any of the Dawah channels disclose how much money they get donated to them, if any? No, of course not.
Maybe they should. I don't know. I
want to bring this back to something serious, because we always get accused of colonialism, yeah?
Of course you're a colonialist.
Can you let me actually
speak? Do you know what?
Muhammad! Instead of shouting, let me speak. You always shout me down, bro. You always shout me down. I can shout as well, but just because you shout it doesn't make you look right.
Can I say something?
No, let me. I actually want to.
I'm going to be on your side. I'm going to be on your side. I am Muslim and from Syria. Netanyahu is much better than Bashar al-Assad.
I agree with that one.
Okay?
We both agree on that one.
I think that's something all of us agree with. We found some common ground. Bashar al-Assad is not a good guy. Yeah.
Alhamdulillah. No one here disagrees with that, yeah?
No, I mean, if there's anything going to start violence, that question will. So let's stay off Syria. Colonialism.
Stay off Palestine.
No, let's stay. Colonialism, yeah?
Yes, yeah.
I get so tired.
What is colonialism? Define it.
So colonialism is where you have a powerful entity, a state, an empire, that creates a colony, which then sends tribute. A colony is when you create effectively, a settlement is a good word, a settlement of people from that state.
This guy's just digging a hole for himself, my friend.
We'll see if I am. We'll see if I am, Muhammad. We'll see if I am actually digging a hole when we actually look at the definitions, yeah?
Yeah, you're doing it now.
So let's listen. We'll use your language. We'll use your language.
Go on.
When you have an empire like the British Empire, it creates a settlement or a colony, as it's commonly called, in say North Africa or anywhere in the world, which they then look to
military personnel, and
which they then look to spread the culture of that colony into that region, and then they rip out the resources and send it back to the host nation. Yeah,
that sounds like Israel to me.
Okay, so let's explore. Is
that Israel?
So let's explore.
Does Israel do that or not?
So let's explore this.
Come on.
And you have to be quiet, and you have to not interrupt, and you have to let me.
Tell me why that's not Israel. Go on.
Okay. So if you look at Arab colonialism, and I'll answer with Israel, but I'm going to start in my own way. If you look at Arab colonialism, it's spread out from various different caliphates, be it based in Iran, be it based in Saudi Arabia.
It wasn't really colonialism because it wasn't.
No, so let me finish. Let me finish. You have to
taking over.
You have to listen.
They took over.
No, it was an actual. They would create colonies there first.
Like who?
So in the Umayyad dynasty,
it wasn't colonies.
Of course there was.
It was a takeover. It was a takeover.
No, you actually don't. They didn't actually.
What do you mean? I don't know.
You clearly don't.
It's called the Umayyad, anyways. And they took over the
Umayyad. It's one of the. Not the Ummah. The Ummah is any of the caliphates.
No, Umayyad.
Oh, Ummah is in the caliph. Yeah,
no, Umayyads are called the Umayyad.
Okay.
Yes.
In Arabic.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And the Abbasids are the Abbasids. But it wasn't colonies. They took over the land. They took it over.
They conquered the land.
Yeah. That's it.
But then what they did, they moved military Arab forces into those regions. Yeah.
Okay.
But then it wasn't until generations after that they began actually, for instance, they would spread Islam. Islam wasn't the first thing they spread.
I don't know what this. We're talking about medieval period now.
I know, it's fine.
We're talking about the contemporary period.
It's fine. I'm allowed.
By the way,
I'm allowed to talk on my terms. I listen to you, and I don't tell you how to answer. So you do the courtesy of not telling me how to answer.
Okay. Tell me why it's not. Why Israel is not a colonial power.
Muhammad, can you let me answer in my own words?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay.
But don't go around the world.
No, I have to go around the world.
You do.
We have to look at examples of colonialism. We have to look at examples of historical colonialism to understand what colonialism is.
Okay, look at contemporary examples. Look at contemporary examples.
So when you had the colonial based out, for instance, you had Mecca and Medina, the tribute that was sent from
contemporary
Can you listen instead of dictating the terms?
Why are you looking
I'm not going to be bullied by you. I'm going to answer in my own way.
Okay, go
if you don't like it, don't listen. Jog on.
Bullied. I'm not bullied. You're not being bullied.
You are, because you're trying to dictate how we talk. And I'm saying no.
You keep saying bullied.
No, because that's what you're trying to do. That's what you're trying to do.
I'm not bullying you.
You're trying to dictate how I answer.
How do you define being bullied?
It's when somebody tries to exert force coercion to...
Where's my force coercion? I'm not using any force coercion right now.
Okay. Let me answer.
Oh my God. Go on.
Let me answer. Okay, so... They would send a tribute.
Israel are bullies.
For instance, when they conquered Alexandria, they said they captured 40,000 or 10,000, I can't remember which, Pole tax-paying Jews, which would then send a tribute. Arab colonialism.
Which ones?
This is in the Umayyad dynasty.
Okay, give me the reference for that, please.
Okay, this is in. I got this from a book called Islamic Imperialism by Ephraim Karsh. And Ephraim Karsh.
Okay. So that's a secondary source material. So
it's secondary source.
Have you looked at the primary source?
So I can pull up the primary.
No, you don't need to. Don't waste my time with this. Sorry. But
okay,
what I'm going to say is that you don't compare medieval empires with contemporary 20th century.
That's exactly what you've been doing.
When?
Whenever you've quoted Ilan Pape or anyone like that, you say it's from documents that you've never read.
I've read them.
No, you haven't.
Okay, tell me which ones and I'll tell you what it says on
them. So, you tell me what you've read.
So, for example, today the documents I've talked about is the Chaim Wiseman or Chaim Wiseman document. That's primary source material. There were letters that were sent from Chaim that were sent from...
No, I'm talking about the 1998 papers you were talking about.
1998 papers that were published by the Israeli military.
What did you read from
there?
And
it shows about the commands that were given in the villages and all this kind of
which ones did you read?
I don't know the names of the papers, they've got numbers on them.
Because I'm saying you also, like me, go
1998, unfortunately, you can Google that though.
Unfortunately, I can't...
The question is
you're avoiding the question.
Okay, so let's get back on to it instead of going on frame.
Yeah, he's talking about medieval Islamic empires.
Okay, so let's fast forward to another colonial empire.
Go on.
Let's fast forward to the British Empire.
Okay, that's more like it.
How did the British colonise most of the known world?
well, like for example, when they went into India, 1607 or whatever it is, and they put like a economic trading post, and then they expanded from that, and then they took it, and then they actually military the wars like
and where did the resources that they rip out? Where did they go?
Went back to the empire.
So they were a colony of Britain, yeah?
Yes.
So when you talk about colonialism from Israel, yeah?
Yes.
What is Israel a colony of?
What do you mean colony of? What does that mean?
So what is Israel?
You're using semantics.
What is Israel a colony of?
I'm saying to you, let me say to you, the same way that Britain took over India and takes their resources and minerals, yeah, and did wars and conducted many wars like the three Mysore wars and the Maratha war and the Sikh war and all these wars that they did, the Sikh Empire war and all these wars that they did, the Battle of Plassey and all them things. The same way that the British did that in India is the same way as the Israelis are doing that in the
Okay, so let's stop and recheck. So when Britain was doing that in India, where was the wealth they were ripping out going? Where was these Indian colonies a colony of? They were a colony of Britain.
The British Empire, yeah.
So I'm asking you, if Israel is a colony...
I'm not saying Israel's a colony. I wasn't saying Israel's a colony. This is a colonial power.
Okay, so where are the colonies that Israel's creating?
Okay, so for example, the settlements in the occupied territories. These are pseudo colonies, yes. And you have also the Gaza Strip until 2005, yes. And then even after 2005, the blockade and stuff that's happening within it. And then you have also obviously the whole of the state of Israel up from 1948 up until this present day. Those places where Arabs lived, to put it bluntly, towns where Arab lived, they were overturned. Those 600 to 800 or whatever it is, villages and towns, the urban centers. The fact that they were reformed, regenerated, and made into Israeli-occupied places, that is what you call colonialism. In fact, it's more than colonialism. It's worse than colonialism.
So
I believe that the British...
Is Pakistan a colony?
Of what?
Exactly. How was Pakistan formed?
This is a different question.
It's not, because basically you're talking about a civil war between two people that had both lived in that land for centuries.
First and foremost,
Palestinians and Jews had lived side by side.
Hold on. India only recently became known as India. You know,
Palestine has never been known as Palestine.
Hold on. It doesn't matter about semantics.
Hold on. You just said India.
Well, hold on.
I'm trying to respond to your point.
Let me explain to you, please, yeah? Before the colonial invasions of the British Empire, you had different regional areas of India. So you had, for example, where the Mughal Empire was. Yeah, you had in southern places like in Mysore, called Mysore, the area of Mysore. You have a northern area. You have, a Sindh, whatever. You have all these areas coming together, which now in the vernacular they call India. Do you get it? But really and truly, if we're talking 300 or 400 years ago, there was no India on the map. There was no India on the map.
There was no Palestine on the map.
No, there was a Palestine on the map.
No, there wasn't.
Yes, there was. Yes, there was.
There was the Sanjak.
Hold on.
There was the Sanjak.
No, hold on. Let me tell you what there was on the map. If you look at any map of the Ottoman Empire, for example, when Palestine was part of the Ottoman Empire, they called it the Sham region. Okay, and that was it was called Sham.
Sham, and what's for the audience? What does Sham translate to?
Sham is a
Syria.
No. It's Levant. It translates to Levant. So the Sham region is a composite of different countries. Of them is Syria and Lebanon and Jordan and Palestine. So that's what it was known as.
Perfect. Did Jews live there?
Yeah, they did.
So when it comes, no, I listen.
What are you talking
when
about?
it comes to self-determination, why are you for the self-determination of Arabs and not Jews?
No, let me answer that question. So when you say the Jews lived there, we're talking about I'm not going to say a marginal minority, but it was a minority status. They had a minority, just like for example.
Who was the majority of British mandatory Palestine given to?
No, we're not talking about British mandatory.
No. Jews were a minority. I agree.
Okay, good.
And Jews were given a tiny bit of land. They were given one of the smallest countries in the world. It's about the same size as Wales.
It depends on what time you're talking about, because it depends on where are we on the timeline. Where are we on the timeline? Because are we talking about the UN resolution? Are we talking about the 39 white paper? Are we talking about?
I was explicit. I said British mandatory Palestine.
Okay, so it's talking about British mandatory Palestine continued up until the until the mid-40s, whatever it was.
Yeah, but when was Jordan?
So if that's the case, then we still have to be specific as to where we are on the timeline.
Wallahi, we have the same conversations every time we talk. We literally had this last week.
So let's wrap it up for the people, yeah? Because I think they're getting.
No. So just to respond to the point, yeah. You said that there's been a country called Palestine. You said there's been a country called Palestine.
I don't care about the name. I said a sham.
Name me one Palestinian leader. Give me one example of Palestinian, like something that would unify.
What do you mean, like? So I don't get it.
Name it. So I can name Israel.
That's a fallacy.
I'll tell you what, I'm going to show you something, Muhammad. I'm going to show you something that's very special to me.
What is it?
It's a Palestinian coin. Yeah? From the British mandatory period. Yeah? Little prop. I bring props to debates.
Is that a
so what does this say?
It says Palestine.
And what does it say in English?
Palestine.
And what does it say in Hebrew there? It also says, but no, no, you're right. Now flip this over. Flip this over. What does it say here underneath?
1927.
Sorry, wait there, where are we? See next to where it says Palestine or Palestina there in Hebrew. What's those letters? It's Arab Hebrew. It's an Aleph and a Yud, which stands for Eretz Yisrael.
So what?
During mandatory Palestine, the only time there was a region that was actually called Palestine, with the exception of when the Romans
So what about the name? Who was inhabiting the land? You'll keep changing the discussion.
Jews have always, so these two.
When is always? When is always?
So
tell me. When is always? When is always?
Camera, just so the camera.
When did Jews constitute a majority in that region?
So
when was the last time? Before
in 1850.
Let me be more specific with the question. Before the mass influx of Jewish immigration into the area which is now called Palestine or whatever, which was then called Palestine, yeah? Let's say before that period of time, when was the last time Jews constituted a majority in that area?
So again, the area is really important. So Jerusalem, since 1850, the Jews were the majority population, at least.
No, not Jerusalem. I didn't ask you about Jerusalem.
So perfect. This is the thing. This is why borders are really important. You don't like to talk about borders, but they're really important.
I don't like to
so
talk about
British mandatory Palestine included Jordan and Israel, as we discussed last week. Jews were a minority population, and they were awarded.
No, when were they a majority in
that
that region? In what is now, for example, what is referred to in the vernacular as Israel.
So again,
when were they the majority?
Mohammed, you dictate again. I'm trying to answer your question.
Go ahead.
So within British mandatory Palestine, they weren't the majority.
Okay, good.
I'm saying that. And
so
the Arabs
when was the last time they were the majority?
Before in all of that region, it would have been, and even then I don't know, including Jordan, whether they would have been the majority, but that would have been going back 2,000 years ago.
2,000 years, okay. Yeah. So if, for example, you have a Norwegian guy. Wait, hold on, sorry.
You're building a straw man.
No, it's not a straw man.
Why don't you actually listen to my argument?
You have a Norwegian...
Mohammed, this isn't my argument.
Why is it your
my argument.
Why does it belong to you?
This isn't my argument.
So
my argument is really simple.
Yeah, what's your argument?
It's really simple. When the colonial powers took charge of the Middle East after the collapse of the Ottoman Empire, the majority of the land was given to the majority population, the Arabs, yeah? So Syria...
It's not given, that was the natural default, they were already there, they inhabited that land.
It's called the...
What are you given? What are you talking about, man?
Because
they weren't transferred from everywhere.
The Turks... You didn't complain about the Ottomans controlling the area. No Muslim complains that the Ottomans were there.
No Muslim. I think that's a broad statement. There's 1.8 billion Muslims.
Okay, you're right. Most Muslims in this park that are Shia...
Come on, man. You haven't spoken to... Have you done a survey?
I haven't done a survey.
So stop talking nonsense. Just get to your point.
Okay, I'll ask you. Do you believe that the Ottomans had a right to be the caliphate over that region?
By the way, the Ottomans were not known as a caliphate to the majority of Islamic scholars, by the way.
Do you believe they were...
I don't even know if they were a caliphate, a legitimate caliphate.
Well, they had a caliph.
No. Then in that case, they weren't called the caliphate. They were an empire in the same way as the British was an empire and all these things. But I would have said at that time...
Did you object to the
I wasn't alive at that particular time for me to object.
But you objected to the Israelis when you weren't alive. Israelis been there when you weren't alive.
I'm alive now, and Israel's irrelevant today. Go ahead. Now tell me the reason. Now, why you think it's okay, legitimate, for you to make a secular argument in your position, a secular argument advocating the rights of a people to come back to their quote-unquote homeland, which is defined as a homeland because 2000... Wait, hold on, sorry.
This isn't my argument.
No, hold on. I'm just asking you a question.
But that's not what I've never said that.
Fine. You said you've done a secular argument, yeah? You're not talking on religious terms, yeah?
But the argument you're constructing is not what... Why don't you actually listen to my argument?
I'm not constructing an argument. I'm asking a question.
You're saying, and I'm saying, no, I'm not saying.
Let me go back 2 steps and ask the question without putting anything inside of it. Question. First question. Do you believe that what is now referred to as Israel is the homeland of the Jewish people?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah? Okay. If you believe in that, why do you believe in that?
Because that's how it defines itself.
How?
Okay, so again, to come back to
hold on.
Yeah, I'm trying to answer your question.
Yeah.
Okay, so I believe in the right of peoples to self-determination. I believe in Arab self-determination in all of the states. I don't necessarily think they have the right rulers. I don't think maybe the Hashemite family is the best rulers.
I don't care about this, man. I'm not here to protect the Hashemites, by the way.
You
keep telling me. I'm not here to look. I'm not an ambassador for the Saudi government.
You have to let me answer in my own words.
Go ahead.
So I believe in the right for people to self-determination. Woodrow Wilson's 14-point principle.
Yes.
I think they're great.
Yeah.
And I believe that the Jews are an indigenous people in that land, just like many Palestinians were indigenous to that land. Therefore, I believe in the right for the Jews to self-determination.
When? 2,000 years ago?
No, 48.
No, when they're an indigenous majority. That's why I'm asking the question.
Who's talking about majority?
Of course we're talking about majority. That's how we determine things. Look.
No.
If you're saying I'm a minority in this country, there were black people in this country since the early medieval period. No Africans have come and said, I'm going to come here and this is our country. Come on.
Do you know how the land was partitioned?
Which land?
Israel, West Bank, Gaza.
You can educate us instead of asking me a
So
go ahead.
In my understanding,
it was about after 1948, yeah?
Yeah, so this will have been the 47. This will have been the 47
partition plan,
which was based off the village report.
Okay.
And the village report showed where you had Jewish communities and Arab communities in that region. The majority of the Arab communities were in the West Bank, yeah? Gaza wasn't as densely populated as it is today.
In 1947?
Yeah, the village report a few years earlier.
Right. Yeah, but that's the question. Why was that the case though?
Can I finish my point?
Go on.
Israel was carved where the Jews had large population. Yeah, when the Europeans drew the lines on the map.
So you're happy with them drawing those lines?
Mate, I'm happy with Europeans.
Yes.
Yeah,
and yourself. You're a European, by the way.
I was born here, so yeah, that's fine. I'm a European.
No, I just wanted to make that very, very clear.
Where's my people originally from, Muhammad?
Where's your people?
Jews.
Which people are you talking about?
The Jewish people.
The Ashkenazi ones or the ones that look like me?
All of them.
The ones that look like me were from the Middle East. The ones that look like you are from Europe.
And the
Really?
Falash are from Africa.
No doubt about that.
So
when I did the DNA test, I did an ancestry test, yeah? And they said I'm 5% Europe. They actually defined it European Jewish. They defined it like that.
Do you know why they define it like that?
Tell me why. Because you came from Europe, that's why.
No.
And you intermixed with European peoples.
We definitely intermixed with European people.
So you're European?
But we didn't come from Europe.
So are you telling me that? Are you telling me that? Sorry, are you telling me that people as white as you are indigenous? Like your composite, your genetic composite, represents a Middle Eastern composite.
So I'm trying to answer the question. Have you heard of the Kohanim?
Which were the Kohanim?
Kohanim are the Cohens. Actually, my surname.
Okay. No, don't speak to me in Hebrew because I need to brush up on that.
You did it to me with the Mayans. The Kohanim are the Cohens, they're the priestly caste. Within Judaism, you had the tribe of Moses, and you had.
I believe this is fake, by the way.
You have Harun, who was Moses' brother. Yeah? And he was the first high priest of the Jewish people. The descendants from that line are called the Kohanim, the Cohens.
You look like an Anglo-Saxon or a Viking.
Muhammad, can you actually listen? Can you actually listen to a point? Can you actually listen instead of just like being the funny guy?
Norwegian. If you went to Iceland, I think you're indigenous.
Mohammed, let him answer you. He's asked a question, let him give an answer.
You look like you're from Siberia.
Mohammed, don't worry about that. Just you ask a question, don't be an idiot, and get him give an answer. Come on, let him answer you. Don't be.
Listen, Mohammed, listen.
Yes.
You have the Kohanim, they descend from Aaron. We have Kohanim in all different groups of people. We have them in the Ethiopians, we have them in the Yemenites, we have them in the Ashkenazim, the Ashkenazi Jews, we have them in the Sephardi, the Spanish and Portuguese Jews, we have them in the Eastern Jews, which is really just be called Jews, but Mizrahim.
I've heard that the Spartans are mistreated there, and the Ethiopians.
Stay on topic. I know you find it hard with your ADHD to stay on topic, but just stay on topic.
You're the one that was shouting like,
Joseph, let me tell you something. People on the camera are not getting the answer, so ignore his comments. Just give the answer. Just give him the answer.
For the people on camera, and Muhammad, if he chooses to listen, the Kohanim in all these different areas, this Jewish tribe in all these different areas share the same DNA. So you have Jews.
Have you done a DNA test?
I've done a DNA test.
What did it go? Please tell me.
I'm bringing it to
Please
the
tell me
park.
what it showed. What did it show?
I'm bringing it to the park next week. I'm waiting for the results.
Show me.
You don't want to hear the answer, do you? Mohammed, you don't really want to hear the answer, do you? Let him answer the question, for God's sakes.
I'm just asking about his DNA test, man.
For Allah's sakes, let him answer the question.
Wallah.
Cool. So answer the question. Gotta answer the question. Answer the question.
all of these Jews, yeah, that belong to this same tribe look very different. If you go to an Ashkenazi shul, they look like nothing.
Like the whole I'm intermixing it.
And
that's
so
why I've got a bit of Jew in me.
If you go to Ethiopia,
how did that happen though, man? How comes I've got Ashkenazi Jew in me? How comes? How comes it says I got 5% Jew? How did that happen?
You're gonna have to
ask your mother.
I asked her.
Yeah, exactly.
I asked her. No, I want to know because I'm actually genuinely now. It's not a debate no more. I'm actually as a point of inquiry. When did this happen?
You're Jewish or Ashkenazi Jewish?
It was European Jew. It says European Jewish.
What? So how long have you been? You're Egyptian. There was an Ashkenazi Jewish community in Egypt.
So did they intermix?
There were definitely Muslims and Christians in Egypt who converted into Judaism.
I don't think that happened, man. I think it was more to do with like intermixing with like a Jewish woman and a Muslim man.
It could have been a Jew that married out. Yeah, it could be a Jew that apostated and became a Muslim. Possibly for someone who sees the world in your way as an Islamic supremacist, then you would see it that way.
Okay.
But to answer your question,
Muslim men are allowed to marry Jewish women.
Yeah, but many Muslims have converted. I've got Muslim friends who've been to the park that have converted to Judaism.
What, that black guy with the thing?
I don't think he's converted to Judaism.
Which one is it?
He's talking about Ismail.
Yeah,
he wears, I don't know the name of the traditional garb he wears, but yeah. No, I don't think he's converted to Judaism. But to answer your question, you have Jews that belong to, 2 minutes, you have Jews that belong to the Cohen, the tribe of that look completely different, but they have the same mate, I'm talking, manners. I don't have time either, and I'm more
the time is 4:30. Goodbye.
Other religion waiting for me. I'll make it.